Welcome to Audio Mentors. Today, we'll delve into a book that has transformed the financial perspective of millions, The Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Have you ever wondered how you can achieve financial freedom? Why some people seem to be trapped in hard work while others enjoy both time and wealth? This book holds the answers. Kiyosaki presents a revolutionary model to understand the different ways people generate income and challenges us to reflect on our financial and professional decisions. The book guides us on the journey from the security of employment to financial independence, exploring the differences between employees, self-employed individuals, business owners, and investors. Are you ready to transform your financial life and learn how to build your path to economic freedom? Join me as we break down the lessons of this book chapter by chapter, with practical examples, deep insights, and strategies you can start applying today. Chapter 1. Why do some people become rich while others don't? The first chapter lays the foundation for understanding the financial disparities between individuals. According to Kiyosaki, the primary reason many people never achieve wealth isn't tied to their education level or hard work but rather their position in the cashflow quadrant. The Cashflow Quadrant model. Kiyosaki divides people into 4 quadrants based on how they earn their income. E. Employees work for others in exchange for a salary or fixed income. They value security and stability. S. Self-employed work for themselves as independent professionals or small business owners. They value independence. B. Business owners own systems that generate income even in their absence. They value freedom. I. Investors make their money work for them through assets like real estate, stocks, or businesses. They value wealth creation. The problem with the left side of the quadrant, E and S. Kiyosaki argues that most people are trapped in the left side of the quadrant, E and S. While they may earn a significant income, they rely entirely on their time and personal effort. If they stop working, their income also stops. This creates an endless cycle of work that limits their ability to achieve financial freedom. Practical example. Think of a doctor working in a hospital, E, or running their private practice, S. While they might earn substantial income, it is directly tied to the hours they work. If they fall ill or retire, their income stream ceases. The solution, moving to the right side of the quadrant, B and I. In contrast, people on the right side of the quadrant, B and I, build systems and acquire assets that generate passive income. This enables them to enjoy both time and wealth freedom. The key, according to Kiyosaki, is learning how to transition from one quadrant to the other. Practical example. Imagine an entrepreneur who owns a chain of restaurants, B. Even if they are not physically present at each location, the systems they've built continue generating income. Additionally, they invest a portion of their profits into real estate and stocks, I, further diversifying their income sources. Key reflection. Financial freedom is not about how much money you earn but how you earn it. Moving to the right side of the quadrant requires changing not just your strategies but also your mindset. The impact of beliefs and financial education. Kiyosaki emphasizes that childhood beliefs about money significantly influence our quadrant position. If you grew up in an environment where job security was valued over entrepreneurship or investing, you're likely to remain in the E or S quadrant. The example of Rich Dad and Poor Dad. Kiyosaki compares the teachings of his rich dad, his financial mentor, and his poor dad, his biological father. His poor dad, a public employee, always advised him to seek a stable, well-paying job. In contrast, his rich dad taught him to build systems and acquire assets that generate passive income. Key lesson. If you want to change quadrants, you need financial re-education to understand how businesses, investments, and systems work. Practical example. Let's say you currently work as an employee and save part of your salary. Instead of keeping that money in a savings account, you decide to invest it in a course about. Stay tuned for more as we explore the next steps in transforming your financial life. Real estate and using your new knowledge to buy your first rental property. This is the first step towards the I quadrant. Why money doesn't solve the problem. One of the most provocative ideas in this chapter is that earning more money doesn't necessarily improve your financial situation. In fact, Many people who earn a lot of money still face financial problems because they don't know how to manage it. The vicious cycle of the E and S quadrants. They earn more money. They spend more money on material goods and luxuries. They incur more debt to maintain their lifestyle. They need to work more to pay off their debts. Practical example. A lawyer earning $200,000 a year may be more in debt than someone earning $50,000 if they spend their money on large houses, luxury cars, and expensive vacations. On the other hand, a person in the I quadrant could earn $50,000 a year in passive income through investments and have total financial freedom. Key lesson. The problem isn't how much money you make, but how you manage it and what you do with it. Financial education is the key to breaking this vicious cycle. How to start moving across quadrants. Kiyosaki introduces the initial steps to move from the left side to the right side of the quadrant. This change doesn't happen overnight, but it is possible with a clear plan and consistent action. Step 1. Financial education. Dedicate time to learning about topics such as assets versus liabilities, how businesses and investments work, the importance of cash flow. Step 2. Change your mindset. Stop seeking security and start seeking freedom. This means embracing risk and being willing to learn from failures. Step 3. Act gradually. You don't have to quit your job immediately. Start a part-time business or invest small amounts while developing your skills. Practical example. If you work in an office, you could start an online business on weekends. Over time, this business could grow enough to replace your main income. End of Chapter 1. The first chapter of the Cashflow Quadrant invites us to reflect on where we are today and where we want to go. Are you satisfied with your place in the quadrant? Are you willing to learn and change in order to achieve financial freedom? This is just the beginning of the journey toward a richer and more meaningful life. Chapter 2. Understanding the Cashflow Quadrant. Each quadrant represents more than just a way to earn money. It represents a mindset, a set of values, and a way of life. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki goes deeper into the concept of the Cashflow Quadrant, explaining the characteristics, advantages, and challenges associated with each quadrant. His goal is to help us understand where we are currently and, more importantly, where we want to be in the future. The 4 quadrants. Employees. Employees work for a company or organization in exchange for a fixed salary. They value job security, benefits such as health insurance and pensions, and seek stability in their financial lives. However, they are completely dependent on their employment. If they lose their job, they also lose their main source of income. Practical example. Think of a teacher working for a school. Although they may feel secure with their monthly salary, they are limited by the hours they can work and the salary increases that depend on their employer. Self-employed. Self-employed individuals work for themselves. They are professionals such as doctors, lawyers, freelancers, or small business owners. Although they have more independence than employees, their income is still directly tied to their time and personal effort. If they don't work, they don't earn money. Practical example. A dentist who owns their own clinic is self-employed. Although they are their own boss, they must see patients to generate income. If they take a long vacation, they stop earning money. Business owners. Business owners have systems that work for them. These systems can be businesses with employees or franchises that generate consistent income without the owner's active involvement. Practical example. Think of the founder of a chain of gyms who has created a replicable business model. Although they aren't present at every location, the system continues to generate income. Investors. Investors make their money work for them. They invest in assets like real estate, stocks, bonds, or businesses, generating passive income that doesn't depend on their time. Practical example. Someone who buys properties to rent is in the I quadrant. Although they need to manage their investments, the rental income provides a steady stream of money without having to work actively. The left side versus the right side of the quadrant. Kiyosaki divides the quadrant into 2 main sides. The left side, E and S, people on this side depend on their personal effort to generate income. They seek security but are often trapped in a cycle of constant work. The right side, D and I, people on this side build systems and assets that generate income even when they aren't actively working. They seek freedom instead of security. Key reflection. Moving from the left to the right side requires not only a change in skills but also a change in mindset. It involves stopping the fear of risk and learning to trust systems and investments. The mindsets of each quadrant. Kiyosaki describes how each quadrant has a unique set of values and beliefs. Employees, they value security and stability. They often say things like, "I need a secure job," or "I want benefits like health insurance and retirement." Self-employed, they value independence. They believe in phrases like, "If you want something done right, do it yourself." Business owners, they value systems. They focus on building structures that can operate without them, saying things like, "I prefer working on my business rather than in my business." Investors, they value leveraging money. They often ask, "How can I make my money work for me?" Practical example. Imagine you have a friend who works as an employee, and another who owns a business, D. The first seeks a raise to improve their quality of life, while the second invests time in creating a system that allows them to open a new branch. This shows how mindsets affect their decisions and results. How to choose your ideal quadrant. Kiyosaki doesn't say that one quadrant is better than another. Instead, he invites us to reflect on which values are most important to us: security or freedom, independence or systems. Depending on your priorities, you can choose the quadrant that best aligns with your goals. Key reflection. Most people start in the E or S quadrant, but many seek to move to the D or I quadrant to achieve financial freedom. This doesn't mean quitting your job immediately, but rather starting to build a bridge to the right side. Financial differences between the quadrants. Kiyosaki explains that people on the left side of the quadrant tend to pay higher taxes and have fewer options to create wealth. On the other hand, people on the right side take advantage of tax benefits, financial leverage, and multiple sources of income. Practical example. An employee pays taxes directly on their gross salary before receiving their paycheck. Net income. In contrast, a business owner, D, can deduct business-related expenses before paying taxes, which reduces their tax burden. How to start the shift to the right side. Kiyosaki emphasizes that it is not necessary to quit your job or business immediately to move to the right side of the quadrant. The change can be gradual, starting with small steps. Financial education. Learn about investments, businesses, and how systems work. Find mentors. Seek out people who are already in the D or I quadrant and learn from their experiences. Start building assets. Invest in real estate, stocks, index funds, or start a part-time business. Change your mindset. Stop seeking security and begin looking for opportunities. Practical example. Let's say you are currently an employee. You could start building an online business on the weekends. Over time, this business could grow and become a system that allows you to transition to the D quadrant. Final reflection of the chapter. This chapter shows us that the Cashflow Quadrant is not just a financial model, but also a tool to understand our priorities, values, and goals. Are you satisfied with your current position in the quadrant? If not, what steps can you take today to move towards the quadrant you truly desire? Chapter 3. Why people prefer security over freedom. Most people prefer financial security over financial freedom. This is not a flaw, but rather a social and cultural conditioning. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki addresses one of the fundamental questions. Why do most people choose to work as employees or self-employed instead of venturing into business ownership or investments? The answer, according to him, lies in fear and social conditioning. Social conditioning and fear of change. From an early age, most of us receive messages that reinforce the importance of seeking financial security over freedom. Phrases like, find a stable job, buy a house, or save for your retirement are examples of this programming. The perceived risks of change. The author points out that moving to the right side of the quadrant, D and I, requires facing certain financial and emotional risks. For example, uncertainty. Unlike a fixed salary, income as a business owner or investor can fluctuate. This generates fear in many people. Failure. The fear of losing money or failing in a business is one of the biggest barriers to leaving the comfort of the E or a quadrant. Practical example. An employee at a large company might dream of opening their own restaurant, but they stop when they consider the startup costs, the competition, and the time needed to make it profitable. This fear keeps them tied to their monthly salary, even though it doesn't satisfy them. How the quadrant influences our emotions. Each quadrant is linked to different emotions and priorities. E. Employee security and stability. The dominant emotions are fear of unemployment and the desire to belong to an organization. A. Self-employed's independence and control. Personal pride and the need to prove competence are common. D. Business owner leverage and system creation. Vision, leadership, and risk tolerance are required. I. Investor creation of passive wealth. This quadrant requires patience, strategy, and the ability to make informed decisions under pressure. Key reflection. Kiyosaki emphasizes that the biggest obstacle to moving to the D and I quadrants is not technical skills, but the emotional and mental barriers we have internalized. The cost of security. While financial security may seem attractive, Kiyosaki argues that it has a hidden cost. People on the left side of the quadrant typically pay more taxes, have less control over their time, depend completely on an employer or clients. Practical example. A self-employed doctor may earn a high income, but also faces long working hours and high tax rates. If they don't work, they don't earn money, which limits their personal freedom. The importance of mindset. Moving to the right side of the quadrant requires a shift in mindset. This involves accepting uncertainty. Financial freedom is not immediate or guaranteed, but it offers greater long-term rewards. Continuous learning. People in the D and I quadrants invest time in developing business and financial skills. Reframing fear. Instead of avoiding risk, they learn to manage it. Practical example. A small business owner who fails in their first attempt can learn from their mistakes and build a stronger business in the future. This learning doesn't happen in the E quadrant, where professional failure can be seen as a permanent stain. Breaking the cycle. Kiyosaki suggests several steps to overcome the fear of change and move toward financial freedom. Financial education. Understand how assets, liabilities, passive income, and business systems work. Small controlled risks. Start with small investments or businesses that do not jeopardize your financial stability. Mentorship. Find mentors or role models who are already in the D or I quadrant and learn from their experiences. Conclusion of the chapter. Kiyosaki concludes that the desire for security is not bad, but it can limit our options and financial growth. The key is recognizing our fears and conditioning and taking small steps toward financial freedom. In the end, success does not depend on eliminating fear, but on learning to act despite it. Chapter 4. The 3 types of business systems. The D quadrant is not just about owning a business, but about building a system that works even when you are not present. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki explains that the real key to operating in the D quadrant, business owners, is not just having a business, but owning an efficient and sustainable system that generates income regardless of how much time the owner invests in it. The bridge to financial freedom. Systems. Kiyosaki compares business systems to a bridge. If you want to move from the left side of the quadrant, employees and self-employed, to the right, business owners and investors, you need a solid system that allows you to make that transition in a stable and profitable way. 3 main types of systems. Traditional corporations, Type C. This model involves building a system from scratch, as an entrepreneur would when founding their own company. While it has high earning potential, it also requires a significant investment of time, effort, and capital. Practical example. Think of Jeff Bezos, who created Amazon from scratch. For years, he built systems for logistics, sales, and distribution to turn it into one of the largest companies in the world. Franchises. In this case, you buy an existing business system that has already been tested and is successful. While the initial cost may be high, it offers the advantage of having an established structure. Practical example. A person who buys a McDonald's franchise doesn't need to develop the business model from scratch. The entire system, from the menu to daily operations, is already designed to generate income. Network marketing. This model involves joining an existing system where you can build your own sales and distribution network. While often criticized, it can be a viable option for those without high initial capital. Practical example: someone who joins a multi-level marketing company like Amway or Herbalife can benefit from an already established system, focusing on building their network and sales. Why systems are essential. Kiyosaki emphasizes that systems not only generate income but also free up time. Business owners in the D quadrant don't need to be physically present for their business to operate. This allows them to focus on scaling the business or investing in other projects. The case of the self-employed versus business owner. A dentist, self-employed, must see patients to generate income. If they stop working, their cash flow stops. In contrast, the owner of a chain of dental clinics, business owner, can delegate the work to other professionals and continue generating income, even if they are on vacation. Key reflection. The difference between working for a business and owning a business system is key to moving to the right side of the quadrant. How to choose the right system. The author offers advice on selecting the system that best aligns with your goals and resources. Assess your skills and experience. If you have business knowledge, you might build a Type C system. If not, a franchise or network marketing system might be a more accessible option. Consider your initial capital. Building a business from scratch may require more financial resources than buying a franchise or joining a network marketing system. Think about your long-term goals. If you seek financial freedom and stability, choose a system with the potential for sustainable passive income. Practical example. A professional working in digital marketing might decide to build their own agency, Type C, while someone with less business experience might choose to buy a coffee shop franchise. Lessons learned from failure. Kiyosaki shares a personal experience where his business system collapsed because it wasn't designed correctly. Although it was painful, this lesson helped him understand the importance of building solid systems that can withstand challenges. Key reflection. Failing is not the end of the road but an opportunity to learn and improve. Building successful systems involves time, experimentation, and a willingness to face setbacks. Steps to start building a system. Identify a market need. Find a problem you can solve with your business system. Design replicable processes. Ensure that your operations are efficient and can be executed by others. Build a reliable team. Recruit people who share your vision and can effectively run the system. Automate when possible. Use technology to reduce costs and increase efficiency. Practical example. An entrepreneur who starts an online store might automate order processing and shipping through platforms like Shopify or Amazon. Conclusion of the chapter. Business systems are the pillar of the D quadrant. They not only generate income but also free up time, allowing you to focus on what truly matters, building your financial freedom. If you are willing to invest time and effort into developing a solid system, you can move from the left side to the right side of the quadrant and enjoy a richer, more balanced life. Chapter 5. How to educate yourself to succeed in the D and I quadrants. Financial education is the key that opens the door to financial freedom. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki focuses on the importance of financial education and how it enables us to not just survive in the financial world, but thrive in the D, business owners, and I, investors, quadrants. According to Kiyosaki, the lack of financial knowledge is the main cause of economic difficulties for many people, regardless of how much money they earn. The education gap. Kiyosaki describes a common problem. Most people are educated to be good employees or self-employed, but not to become business owners or investors. This is because the traditional education system does not teach concepts like investing, taxes, or creating business systems. Practical example. Think of someone who graduates from college with a degree in engineering. While this person may be brilliant in their field, they likely don't know how to manage their income effectively, which keeps them stuck in the E quadrant, even though they earn a good salary. Key reflection. Financial education is not just about learning numbers but about developing a mindset that allows you to see opportunities and make informed decisions. The language of money. Kiyosaki uses an interesting metaphor. Each quadrant has its own language. For example, in the E quadrant, the language is about salaries, benefits, and job security. In the I quadrant, the language is about leverage, return on investment, and passive assets. Learning the language of the right side of the quadrant requires time, practice, and a willingness to make mistakes. Practical example. An employee might think about saving for retirement, while an investor thinks about how to make money work for them through income-generating assets. Steps to educate yourself financially. Kiyosaki suggests several practical actions to improve your financial education. Read books on finance. Start with works like Rich Dad Poor Dad and others that explain basic concepts of investing and business. Attend seminars and courses. These events can provide a deeper understanding and practical tools to apply. Find mentors. Learn from people who have already succeeded in the D and I quadrants. Play educational games. Kiyosaki mentions his own game, Cashflow, as a tool for learning about finances in a fun and practical way. Practical example. Imagine attending a real estate course where you learn how to calculate the return on investment of a property. This knowledge could be key to making smart financial decisions in the future. The power of making mistakes. One of the key messages of this chapter is that mistakes are essential for learning. Instead of fearing failure, Kiyosaki encourages seeing it as an opportunity to grow. Practical example. A novice investor who loses money on their first rental property can learn valuable lessons about hidden costs and the importance of researching the market. Key reflection. The difference between success and failure on the right side of the quadrant often lies in the willingness to learn from mistakes. The mental shift. Moving to the D or I quadrant requires more than technical skills. It requires a mindset shift. This includes accepting risk, understanding that every decision carries risks, but they can be managed with knowledge. Focusing on long-term growth. Instead of seeking quick gains, focus on building sustainable wealth through assets. Practical example. Instead of spending an annual bonus on a new car, a person might invest that money in dividend-paying stocks. Chapter conclusion. Kiyosaki closes this chapter by emphasizing that financial education is a continuous process. No matter which quadrant you are currently in, there is always more to learn. By developing your knowledge and skills, you can move to the right side of the quadrant and build a life of financial freedom. Chapter 6. You can't see money with your eyes. Money is not always visible, but its impact can be measured by our ability to understand its flow and manage it properly. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki introduces a unique perspective on money, not seeing it only as bills and coins, but as an intangible concept that requires financial education to be understood and managed effectively. The chapter shares a personal experience from the author illustrating how misconceptions can lead to poor financial decisions. And early real estate experience. Kiyosaki recounts one of his first real estate investments in the 1970s. He purchased a condominium in Waikiki for $56,000, believing he had secured an excellent deal. However, when he presented the purchase to his rich dad, he was challenged with a key question: how much money are you losing each month? Initial lesson: the invisible cost. At first, Kiyosaki thought he was losing only $100 per month, but his rich dad showed him that he had not properly evaluated all the associated costs, such as maintenance, taxes, and management fees. This experience highlighted the importance of looking beyond the surface numbers and evaluating the actual cash flow. The problem of seeing money with your eyes. According to Kiyosaki, most people evaluate their financial decisions based solely on what they see. But money is not always tangible. The numbers and invisible financial systems dictate the true value and viability of an investment. Practical example. Imagine purchasing a luxury car financed in installments. While the monthly payments may seem manageable, associated costs such as maintenance, insurance, and depreciation can turn this investment into a financial liability. This illustrates how poorly founded financial decisions can lead to long-term economic problems. Financial education as a lens. Kiyosaki emphasizes that the key to seeing money correctly is developing strong financial education. This includes understanding financial systems, knowing how cash flows, taxes, and hidden costs work, analyzing opportunities logically, not emotionally. Often, investments may seem attractive emotionally but can be financially harmful. Seeking proper advice. Consulting mentors or financial experts can provide a clearer perspective. How to train your mind to see money. Kiyosaki recommends specific steps to develop this ability. Study real-life cases. Analyze how successful investors evaluate their options. What criteria do they use? What mistakes do they avoid? Practice with simulations. Games like Cashflow, created by Kiyosaki, are helpful tools for understanding how cash flows and financial systems work. Ask difficult questions. Ask yourself if you truly understand all aspects of a financial decision before committing. Practical example. A small business owner might learn to evaluate the return on investment, ROI, of a new product line, considering not just production costs but also distribution costs, marketing, and potential losses from returns. The value of painful lessons. Kiyosaki admits that many of his most valuable lessons came from painful experiences, such as failed investments. However, each mistake taught him something new about how to see money more clearly and strategically. Key reflection. Failure does not mean losing, but learning. To move towards the D or I quadrant, you must be willing to accept failure as part of the learning process. Chapter conclusion. The ability to see money goes beyond what is visible. It requires education, practice, and the willingness to learn from mistakes. Kiyosaki reminds us that in the financial world, informed and strategic decisions are the path to financial freedom. Chapter 7. Becoming who you are. The journey to financial freedom is not just about earning more money, but about the personal transformation that happens along the way. In this chapter, Kiyosaki explores the importance of becoming the right person to thrive in the D, business owner, and I, investor, quadrants. Beyond technical skills, it is crucial to work on personal development and the mindset that will enable you to face challenges and seize opportunities. The internal change required. Kiyosaki emphasizes that moving to the right side of the quadrant requires a deep change in how we think and act. This process is not just about acquiring financial skills but about becoming more resilient, creative, and willing to take risks. Practical example. Imagine an employee who always seeks the security of a monthly paycheck. To become a successful entrepreneur, this person must learn to tolerate uncertainty and visualize a future based on passive income rather than earned income. Key reflection. True financial success is not based solely on what you have, but on who you are. Breaking free from past patterns. One of the biggest challenges, according to Kiyosaki, is breaking free from mental and emotional patterns that tie us to the left side of the quadrant. This includes fear of failure, dependence on a fixed income, lack of confidence in our abilities. Practical example. A young professional may decide to invest in real estate. Initially, they may feel afraid of losing their investment. However, by educating themselves and taking small steps, they learn to manage risks and, over time, become an experienced investor. Money as a drug. Kiyosaki quotes his rich dad saying that money can be an addictive drug. People who become dependent on a fixed salary often fear losing it, which leads them to avoid growth opportunities. This fear acts as a barrier to moving toward the D and I quadrants. Practical example. A person may work for 30 years at the same company because they fear losing financial stability, even though this decision limits their personal and professional growth. Key reflection. Financial independence begins by breaking the addiction to money as the only source of security. The transformation process. Kiyosaki suggests several steps to begin this personal transformation. Challenge your limiting beliefs. Ask yourself what thoughts are holding you back. For example, I can't start a business because I don't have capital. Surround yourself with mentors and role models. Learn from people who have already achieved financial success. Accept failure as part of learning. Every mistake is an opportunity to grow and improve. Practical example. A novice entrepreneur who fails in their first business can use that experience to adjust their approach and build a more solid second business. The Esierdo have formula. Kiyosaki introduces this formula to describe the necessary change process. B. Work on who you are, your values, skills, and mindset. Do. Take consistent action and learn from your experiences. Have. Financial results are a natural consequence of the first two stages. Practical example. Before investing in the stock market, an individual may educate themselves about the market, develop patience, and practice with simulators. Only after that will they be ready to invest confidently and reap benefits. Chapter conclusion. This chapter emphasizes that the journey to financial freedom is both internal and external. Becoming who you need to be to thrive in the D and I quadrants is an ongoing process that requires self-awareness, courage, and determination. Chapter 8. How do I get rich? Wealth is not an accident. It is the result of conscious decisions, financial education, and the willingness to learn from every step along the way. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki explores the practical and conceptual foundations for building wealth. He uses clear examples and simple strategies to teach how anyone can start moving toward the D, business owner, or I, investor, quadrant and build a sustainable income stream. The game of money and monopoly. Kiyosaki begins with a personal anecdote. He learned how to invest by playing Monopoly as a child. The winning strategy of the game, 4 green houses, 1 red hotel, is a metaphor to illustrate the importance of investing in income-generating assets. Practical example. Think of someone who starts by purchasing small, affordable properties to rent. Over time, they use the profits from those properties to acquire larger residential complexes that generate higher passive income. This step-by-step approach allows wealth to be built without relying solely on a salary. Key lesson. Simplicity in strategy is more powerful than any complex tactic. If you can understand the basic rules, you can apply them in any area of investment. The power of real estate. For Kiyosaki, real estate represents one of the most accessible and effective ways to generate wealth. But he emphasizes that it's not just about buying properties, but about understanding how cash flow, taxes, and associated financial benefits work. Extended practical example. Suppose you buy a house at a low cost in an emerging neighborhood. You rent it out and receive monthly income after covering the mortgage and expenses. Over time, as you pay down the debt, the property's value increases. Eventually, you can sell it for a profit or reinvest it in new properties. Key reflection. Real estate is not just physical assets. It's a tool to build financial freedom. But it requires patience, research, and good management. Investing in systems, not jobs. Kiyosaki introduces the concept of building systems that generate passive income. Instead of working hard for money, aim to create systems that work for you. Practical example. A business owner sets up a franchise that operates independently of their daily presence. An investor develops a stock portfolio that produces regular dividends. In both cases, income flows even if the owner is on vacation. The importance of measuring cash flow. Kiyosaki warns against the trap of focusing only on the apparent benefits of an investment while ignoring the associated costs. Positive cash flow is essential to maintain and scale any investment. Detailed practical example. Imagine buying a rental property. At first, the property seems profitable, but you must carefully track ongoing expenses such as maintenance, property taxes, and management fees to understand the true profitability. Without adequate cash flow, the investment could become a burden instead of a source of income. Positive cash flow. You buy a small apartment complex. The monthly rents cover the mortgage, taxes, and maintenance, leaving a surplus as profit. Negative cash flow. You buy an overpriced property. Although it has potential, the operational costs exceed the income, leading to continuous losses. Key reflection. Cash flow is the pulse of your investment. Always evaluate its sustainability before committing. Financial education, the key to success. Financial education is not just about learning how to invest, but about developing a strategic mindset. Kiyosaki suggests 3 key steps to acquire this knowledge. Read books and attend seminars. Expand your perspective on business and investments. Practice with simulations. Games like Cashflow allow you to learn without real risks. Seek mentors. Learn from those who have already walked the path to financial success. Practical example. Imagine attending a real estate seminar where you learn how to identify undervalued properties. You then apply that knowledge in your local market, gradually building a profitable portfolio. Chapter Conclusion. Kiyosaki concludes by emphasizing that the path to wealth is not a sprint, but a marathon. The key is to develop a long-term vision, constantly educate yourself, and act with patience and determination. Chapter 9. Be the bank, not the banker. Don't work for money, make money work for you. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki introduces a transformative concept, becoming the bank rather than depending on one. This means developing smart financial strategies that allow us to act as capital providers rather than just consumers of financial products. The bank mentality. Kiyosaki argues that most people are accustomed to thinking like bank customers, seeking loans, or using financial services. But on the right side of the quadrant, the goal is to adopt the mentality of a bank, to be the one who lends money and generates passive income from interest or strategic investments. Practical example. A simple financial business model. Imagine buying a property for $70,000 using a bank loan, then selling it for $100,000 under a contract with financing. The new buyer makes payments directly to you, covering your mortgage and generating an additional monthly profit. In this scenario, you become the bank for the buyer, earning interest on the loan you provided. The BDO formula. The chapter highlights that becoming the bank is not just a technical act, but a matter of personal transformation. According to Kiyosaki, the order to achieve this state is clear. B. Cultivate an investor mentality by learning how to evaluate risks and opportunities. Do. Take consistent actions to build assets and reduce liabilities. Have. Enjoy the fruits of your financial strategy. Extended example. Suppose you decide to invest in a commercial building. Before doing so, you need to study the real estate market. Learn how to analyze cash flows. Build a team of advisors, lawyers, accountants, and real estate agents. This process prepares you to make informed decisions and minimize risks. Risk transfer. A key lesson from this chapter is learning to transfer risks to other parties, whether by structuring contracts or using smart tax strategies. Kiyosaki explains that this is what the big players in the financial world do: minimize their exposure while maximizing their profits. Practical example. In the previous scenario, the risk of loan default is transferred to the buyer who now holds the property under a contract with you. In the event of default, you can recover the property and sell it again, ensuring a constant income flow. Money as a tool, not a goal. An essential part of thinking like a bank is recognizing that money should not be an end, but a means to build wealth. This perspective helps demystify money and reduces the fear associated with financial risks. Key reflection. Many people think that earning more money will solve their problems, but without a solid strategy, money becomes a fleeting resource. By learning to manage it intelligently, it transforms into a tool to create opportunities. The global financial game. Kiyosaki also points out that money today is largely intangible. Most financial transactions are electronic and based on trust. Being able to interpret this landscape and anticipate trends is a significant advantage for those operating in the D and I quadrants. Practical example. Understanding how interest rates, international currencies, and stock markets work can help identify opportunities. For example, taking advantage of low mortgage rates to finance a real estate investment and then using rental income to cover the cost. Chapter conclusion. This chapter emphasizes that by adopting the mentality of a bank, you can not only change your relationship with money, but also achieve sustainable financial freedom. The key is to shift from being a passive consumer to an active financial strategist. Chapter 10. Take it step by step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but it is the consistency in those steps that defines success. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki explains that progress towards financial freedom is not achieved with one giant leap, but with small, consistent steps. Inspired by the teachings of his rich dad, Kiyosaki shows that developing a sustainable financial strategy requires patience, planning, and the ability to stay on course despite challenges. The trap of wanting quick results. Many people, according to Kiyosaki, fail in their financial efforts because they try to move too quickly. For example, they decide to suddenly save large sums of money, but abandon the effort when the restrictions become unsustainable. They invest everything in a single opportunity, thinking it will be a lucky break, only to lose it all due to poor risk assessment. Practical example: a financial diet. A person with debt decides to drastically cut all their expenses, eliminating outings, purchases, and entertainment. While they manage to save a little at first, the emotional deprivation leads them to spend impulsively after a few weeks, returning to the same starting point. Key reflection: financial success is not about making huge temporary sacrifices, but about adopting sustainable long-term habits. The power of small steps. Kiyosaki presents the metaphor of eating an elephant bite by bite. This approach highlights the importance of breaking down a large goal into smaller, more manageable tasks. Suggested practical steps. Increase your financial education daily. Spend 15 minutes each day reading about investments or personal finance. Cut costs in small areas. Instead of eliminating all expenses, identify one unnecessary item, like unused subscriptions, and eliminate it. Start with small investments. Buy stocks or bonds on a small scale before committing large sums. The importance of direction. Not all small steps lead to success. It is crucial to ensure your actions are aligned with your financial goals. Detailed practical example. Suppose you want to move from the E quadrant, employee, to the D quadrant, business owner. Instead of abruptly quitting your current job, you could start a part-time business. Save an emergency fund while generating additional income. Train in leadership and management. Key lesson: the direction in which you move is more important than the speed at which you advance. Internal resistance to change. The chapter also addresses the internal struggles we face when trying to change our financial mindset. Kiyosaki describes fear, procrastination, and self-sabotage as common obstacles. Strategies to overcome them. Practice self-awareness. Keep a journal where you record your thoughts and emotions related to money. Surround yourself with positive influences. Join communities of entrepreneurs or investors who inspire you. Visualize your success. Imagine what your life will look like once you achieve your financial goals. The 7-step framework. Kiyosaki briefly introduces the 7 steps he uses to move toward financial freedom. These steps are not magic formulas but practical guidelines that require patience and perseverance. First step: define your goal. Set a clear, achievable financial goal, such as generate $1,000 in passive income per month in 5 years. This goal will be your compass throughout the process. Chapter conclusion. The main message of this chapter is that no matter how far your financial goal seems, the important thing is to start and stay on course. Every small step counts, as long as it brings you closer to your destination. Chapter 11. It's time to mind your own business. Your financial success depends on stopping enriching others and starting to build your own column of assets. Robert Kiyosaki begins this chapter by challenging traditional beliefs about money and work. Often, from a young age, we are taught to work hard to enrich others. Our employers, banks, the government, and big corporations. This chapter emphasizes the importance of shifting that focus towards building your own wealth. Breaking traditional paradigms. From an early age, many people are programmed to follow advice that, although well-intentioned, keeps them trapped in the cycle of working for others. Go to school and get good grades to get a secure job. This advice perpetuates the idea of depending on a fixed salary, limiting possibilities for financial freedom. Buy the house of your dreams, it's your best investment. Kiyosaki argues that while owning a home is important, it is not always a financial asset, as it generates ongoing expenses rather than income. Having a mortgage is good for tax benefits. Although tax benefits can be useful, this mindset often justifies unnecessary debt. Practical example: analyzing the balance sheet. An average employee might see how most of their income goes toward expenses such as taxes, mortgages, and credit cards. These transactions enrich governments, banks, and corporations, but not themselves. Key reflection. The key to breaking out of this cycle is identifying which expenses do not provide long-term value and redirecting those resources toward assets that generate income. The importance of building your column of assets. Kiyosaki emphasizes that true financial freedom begins by creating and expanding your own column of assets. This means investing in real estate, stocks, businesses, or any asset that generates passive income. Extended practical example: initial investments. Buy a small property to rent, generating a monthly income that covers your mortgage and leaves you with a surplus. Use the money saved from unnecessary expenses to invest in low-cost index funds. Key lesson: every small financial decision can contribute to building your column of assets and freeing you from reliance on a single income. Identify your financial path. Kiyosaki compares the path to financial freedom to finding a track that leads you to success. This involves understanding your skills and strengths, identifying opportunities in your environment, choosing investments aligned with your goals. Practical example: discover your financial passion. If you are interested in technology, you could learn about emerging companies in that sector and look for investment opportunities. If you have sales skills, consider starting an e-commerce business. Create a long-term financial plan. A recurring theme in this chapter is the need to have a long-term vision. Kiyosaki suggests setting clear and measurable financial goals, breaking those goals into achievable steps, regularly reviewing and adjusting your plan. Practical example: 10-year plan. Suppose you want to retire at 50 with a passive income of $5,000 per month. Your plan might include buying a property every 2 years, reinvesting profits into more assets, continuously increasing your financial education. Chapter conclusion. Kiyosaki concludes this chapter by highlighting that tending to your own business doesn't necessarily mean starting a company, but rather building a personal financial system that works for you. This is the first step toward financial independence. Chapter 11. It's time to mind your own business. Are you working hard to enrich others, or are you building your own financial future? Robert Kiyosaki begins this chapter with a deep reflection on how most people spend their lives working for the financial success of others, their employers, banks, the government, and large corporations. Here, the author invites the reader to make a radical mindset shift, to start tending to their own business. The trap of traditional employment. From a young age, we are taught messages like, go to school and get good grades to get a secure job. Buy the house of your dreams, it's your biggest asset. Work hard and save for the future. Kiyosaki argues that these beliefs turn us into slaves of the financial system designed to benefit others. For example, we work hard to make our bosses rich. We pay taxes that enrich the government. We go into debt, generating income for banks. We consume goods and services that sustain large corporations. Key reflection: are you building assets that work for you, or are you trapped in the cycle of enriching others? The meaning of tending to your own business. Kiyosaki defines minding your own business as focusing on building your column of assets, properties, investments, businesses, or any source that generates passive income. This approach allows you to break free from the cycle of financial dependence. Practical example: imagine that instead of spending $300 a month on an unnecessary subscription, you decide to invest that amount in an index fund. Over the long term, this small change can generate significant returns, working for your benefit rather than for the benefit of a corporation. The importance of a clear financial statement. Kiyosaki emphasizes that individuals need to understand how their personal financial statement works to determine if they are truly building wealth or merely surviving. He suggests reviewing 2 key elements. Asset column: how much do you have that actually generates income? Liabilities column: how much do you owe, and what does it cost to maintain your debts? Practical example: suppose you have a house with a mortgage. Although many consider their home an asset, if it doesn't generate income, it is actually a liability, as it requires ongoing expenses such as taxes, maintenance, and interest. Building your own financial system. To tend to your own business, Kiyosaki suggests developing a personal financial system. This includes reducing expenses, identify where you can save, investing smartly, look for opportunities in real estate, stocks, or businesses with growth potential. Constant learning, invest in financial education to make better decisions. Practical example: start by acquiring a low-cost rental property. Use the profits to invest in a small business or dividend-paying stocks. Over time, This income flow will create a solid foundation for financial freedom. The emotional impact of change. Kiyosaki acknowledges that tending to your own business is not easy. Many people face fear and uncertainty when leaving the security of traditional employment. However, he assures that the effort is worth it, as it gives you full control over your financial future. Strategies to overcome fear. Set clear and specific financial goals. Seek mentors who have achieved financial freedom. Start gradually. You don't need to quit your current job immediately. Chapter conclusion. Kiyosaki concludes this chapter by emphasizing the importance of breaking free from traditional molds. Tending to your own business is not just a financial matter, it's a life decision that grants you power and freedom. Final reflection. What concrete steps can you take today to begin building your column of assets? Remember, the first step is always the hardest, but also the most crucial. Chapter 11. It's time to mind your own business. If you work for someone else your whole life, you build other people's wealth, but if you work on your own business, you begin to build your own financial freedom. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of dedicating time, effort, and resources to the development of your own business or column of assets, rather than solely enriching employers, banks, and the government. The programming of society. Kiyosaki begins by describing how from a young age, we are conditioned to follow a path that benefits others. Traditional education. We are taught to get good grades to secure a job. Housing as investment. We believe our home is our greatest asset, ignoring that in many cases, it is a liability. Impulsive consumption. Phrases like, buy now, pay later, reinforce habits that generate debt and enrich banks and lenders. Practical example. An employee who spends a large portion of their income on mortgage payments, credit card debt, and taxes may appear successful from the outside, but their financial balance shows that their earnings enrich banks, governments, and consumer goods companies. Key reflection. As long as you follow these rules, you're working to build other people's wealth. To achieve financial freedom, you need to invest in your own future. The concept of minding your own business. Minding your own business does not mean immediately quitting your job, but starting to build your column of assets. According to Kiyosaki, assets are things that generate passive income, such as real estate that generates rental income, stocks or bonds that generate dividends, businesses that run without your daily presence. Detailed practical example. A person with a stable job decides to buy a small property to rent out. Over time, rental income not only covers the mortgage but also generates positive cash flow. This asset begins to form part of their column of passive income. Key reflection. Financial freedom is not about how much you earn from your job, but about how much money you generate through assets that work for you. The impact of not minding your own business. Kiyosaki warns that many people spend their entire lives tending to the business of others. For employers, you work hard and generate profits for the owners. For banks, you pay interest on debts like mortgages and loans. For the government, a significant portion of your income goes to taxes. Practical example. An average family spends 30% of their income on taxes, another 20% on interest from debts, and the rest on basic consumption. In the end, there's nothing left to invest in assets. Key reflection. If you don't dedicate time to building your own business, you spend your whole life enriching others. How to start minding your own business. Kiyosaki suggests practical steps to build your column of assets. Evaluate your current situation. List all your liabilities and assets. Identify areas where you can reduce expenses and increase investments. Start small. You don't need large sums to begin. Even investing in an index fund or a small property can be the first step. Educate your financial mind. Learn about real estate, stock markets, or business models. The key is to build knowledge before investing. Detailed practical example. A young professional starts by reading books about investments and attending seminars. They decide to invest in a low-cost mutual fund with a small monthly amount, gaining practical experience while accumulating knowledge. The mental shift required. Kiyosaki highlights that one of the greatest challenges in tending to your own business is breaking away from the employee mindset. This requires taking controlled risks. Switching from the security of a monthly paycheck to variable income can be intimidating, but it's necessary. Being patient, building assets takes time. Don't expect immediate results. Practical example. An employee working 40 hours a week dedicates 2 hours a day to learning about real estate. After a year, they use their savings to buy their first property. While this initially requires extra time and effort, the benefits gradually start to materialize. Chapter conclusion. The central message of this chapter is clear. If you don't invest in your own business, you spend your whole life enriching others. Starting to build assets may seem challenging, but each small step brings you closer to financial freedom. Kiyosaki reminds us that change begins with a decision. Take control of your financial future. Chapter 12. Learn to manage risk. Risk is not something you should avoid, but something you must learn to manage intelligently. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki delves into the concept of risk, addressing how misconceptions about it limit many people in their pursuit of financial freedom. The key to advancing towards the D, business owner, or I, investor, quadrants is not avoiding risk, but learning to manage it strategically and with calculation. Fear of risk, a psychological barrier. Kiyosaki explains that the fear of risk is deeply rooted in our cultural and social beliefs. From a young age, we are taught to avoid uncertain situations, which leads us to prioritize job security, E and A quadrants, over wealth creation. Practical example. An average employee, instead of investing in a business or property, opts to save money in a low-interest bank account, thinking their money is safe. However, this safety means missing out on growth opportunities and often even losing purchasing power due to inflation. The difference between blind risk and calculated risk. Kiyosaki emphasizes that not all risks are the same. Blind risk occurs when we make decisions without enough knowledge or planning. In contrast, calculated risk is based on financial education, experience, and strategy. Extended practical example. Blind risk. Buying a property because someone else recommended it, without researching the location, associated costs, or income potential. Calculated risk. Evaluating the local market, calculating projected cash flow, and considering maintenance and tax costs before making the purchase. Key lesson. Education and preparation are the most effective tools to turn risk into a growth opportunity. Tools for managing risk. Kiyosaki shares practical strategies to minimize risk in any investment or business. Continual education. Learn about assets, markets, and financial systems to make informed decisions. Diversification. Spread your investments across different areas to reduce the impact of a loss in one sector. Smart leverage. Use external resources, like loans or strategic partnerships, to maximize returns while minimizing personal exposure. Work with experts. Hire accountants, lawyers, and experienced investors to guide you in your decisions. Practical example. If you have $10,000 to invest, rather than putting it all into a single stock, you might divide it into $4,000 in an index fund, $3,000 in real estate, $3,000 in bonds. This reduces risk and allows you to maintain a balanced portfolio. Failure, the best teacher. One of the most powerful ideas in this chapter is that failure is an essential part of learning. Kiyosaki shares stories of his own financial mistakes to illustrate how each misstep allowed him to improve his strategy and expand his knowledge. Author's personal story. In one of his early investments, Kiyosaki lost money on a property because he didn't accurately calculate maintenance and management costs. However, this experience led him to study how to manage properties more efficiently, which later became one of his greatest strengths. Key reflection. Failure doesn't define you. What you do after failing is what makes the difference. Risk and financial education. The author argues that risk doesn't decrease with luck but with knowledge. By educating yourself financially, you can anticipate problems, plan solutions, and make informed decisions that minimize uncertainties. Detailed practical example. An aspiring investor decides to take a course on financial analysis before buying their first property. Thanks to this knowledge, they identify an opportunity that others overlooked, an undervalued property with great appreciation potential. Strategies to change your perception of risk. Reframe your thoughts. Instead of thinking, "This is too risky," ask yourself, "How can I manage this risk?" Start small. Make small initial investments to gain experience without committing large sums of money. Evaluate the cost of not acting. Ask yourself what you would lose if you don't take a risky decision. In many cases, the cost of inaction is greater than the risk itself. Practical example. Suppose you decide not to invest in a franchise due to the fear of losing money. However, by avoiding this opportunity, you miss out on the chance to generate passive income that could have changed your financial life. The right quadrant and risk management. In the D and I quadrants, managing risk is a key skill. Business owners minimize risks through efficient systems and reliable teams. Investors diversify their portfolios and employ long-term strategies to maximize returns and reduce losses. Extended practical example. An entrepreneur opening an online store can minimize risks by using platforms like Shopify to reduce initial costs, testing products in small markets before placing large orders, analyzing sales data to adjust their strategy. Conclusion of the chapter. Risk should not be seen as an obstacle, but as an opportunity to grow and learn. With education, preparation, and practice, you can transform risk into a tool to reach your financial goals. As Kiyosaki says, the real risk is not in failing, but in not trying. Chapter 13. Breaking the Security Paradigm. True security does not come from a steady salary, but from the ability to adapt and thrive in any financial circumstance. In this chapter, Kiyosaki challenges one of the most deeply ingrained concepts in society, the pursuit of job security. From a young age, many of us have been conditioned to believe that the key to a stable and satisfying life lies in finding a secure job and holding on to it until retirement. However, Kiyosaki argues that this paradigm is not only outdated but also limits our ability to achieve financial freedom. The false promise of security. Kiyosaki describes how the traditional education system prepares us to be employees, instilling the idea that a stable job and fixed income are synonymous with success. However, in the modern economy, relying solely on a salary can be one of the riskiest decisions. Practical example. During the 2008 financial crisis, millions of secure employees lost their jobs and savings, revealing the fragility of the labor dependence model. Those who had diversified their income or built assets were the ones who navigated the storm the best. Key reflection. Job-based security is an illusion, as it depends on external factors we cannot control, such as the economy, changes in the industry, or corporate decisions. The emotional cost of security. In addition to the financial impact, Kiyosaki argues that constantly seeking security also comes with an emotional and mental cost. People who prioritize stability often sacrifice their dreams, creativity, and potential, settling for what is safe. Author's personal example. Kiyosaki recounts how, early in his career, he faced pressure from his family to get a good job. However, he decided to follow the advice of his rich dad and build his own path, despite initial criticism and uncertainty. Redefining security. According to Kiyosaki, true security does not come from a salary or a job, but from the ability to adapt, learn new skills, and create assets that generate passive income. Strategies to build financial security. Invest in your financial education. Understanding how assets, taxes, and investments work is key to making informed decisions. Develop multiple income streams. Don't rely on a single source of income. Explore options such as real estate investments, online businesses, or dividends. Build a network. Surround yourself with entrepreneurial-minded people who can offer support and opportunities. Breaking the scarcity mindset. An important point the chapter addresses is how the pursuit of security is linked to a scarcity mindset. People with this mindset view life as a zero-sum game, where for one person to win, another must lose. Extended practical example. Imagine someone is afraid to invest because they believe the market is too competitive. This mindset causes them to miss out on growth opportunities and keeps them trapped in the E quadrant, employ. Key lesson. The abundance mindset, on the other hand, focuses on creating value and finding opportunities in any circumstance. The power of taking calculated risks. To move from the E quadrant to the D or I quadrant, it is essential to overcome the fear of risk. This doesn't mean acting impulsively, but learning to evaluate risks strategically. Practical example. Instead of quitting your job immediately, you could start a part-time business. This allows you to gain experience and build your network without compromising your initial stability. Conclusion of the chapter. This chapter invites us to reassess what we understand by security. Instead of relying on external factors like a salary or job, we should build a solid foundation of skills, knowledge, and assets that allow us to thrive regardless of economic circumstances. Highlighted quote. True freedom begins when you realize that security isn't in your job, but in your ability to create wealth. Chapter 14. Breaking Patterns. To change your financial destiny, you must first break the patterns that keep you trapped in the same reality. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki addresses one of the biggest challenges in the pursuit of financial freedom: identifying and changing the patterns of thinking and behavior that limit our opportunities for growth. According to Kiyosaki, most people fail to progress because they continue repeating the same financial habits and inherited beliefs, which keeps them stuck in the E, employee, or A, self-employed, quadrants. Recognizing limiting patterns. The first step in breaking a pattern is recognizing that it exists. Often, these patterns are so normal to us that we don't question them. Some common examples include fear of failure, avoiding investments or businesses out of fear of losing money. Focus on security, seeking a stable job instead of exploring passive income opportunities. Excessive consumption, spending more money on luxuries than on building assets. Practical example. Imagine someone who buys a new model of phone every year, accumulating unnecessary debt. This consumption pattern keeps them from investing in something that could truly add value, like stocks or real estate. Key reflection. Each limiting pattern acts as a barrier preventing you from reaching your financial potential. The origin of financial patterns. Kiyosaki explains that most of these patterns are formed in childhood and passed down from generation to generation. Phrases like "money doesn't grow on trees" or "we can't afford that" shape our relationship with money from an early age. Practical example. Inherited beliefs. A person who grew up hearing "the rich are greedy" may have difficulty aspiring to create wealth, because they subconsciously associate financial success with something negative. Key lesson. It is crucial to examine the beliefs and attitudes you have inherited about money and decide which ones serve you and which ones need to be changed. How to break financial patterns. Kiyosaki proposes a series of steps to identify and transform these patterns. Self-awareness. Take time to reflect on your financial habits. What decisions do you repeatedly make and why? Re-education. Learn new ways of thinking about money through books, courses, and mentors. Conscious actions. Introduce small changes into your daily habits to create a new pattern. Surround yourself with growth-minded people. Your environment significantly influences your beliefs and behaviors. Practical example. Habit transformation. Let's say you always spend 100% of your salary. You can start by saving 10% each month and putting it into an investment account. This small change, repeated over time, creates a positive pattern that will eventually lead you to accumulate assets. The importance of stepping out of your comfort zone. Breaking a pattern means stepping out of comfort and facing uncertainty. This can be uncomfortable, but it is essential for growth. Kiyosaki describes how many people cling to their old habits because they provide a sense of security, even if they don't benefit them in the long run. Practical example. Changing quadrants. An employee may feel secure with their monthly salary, but if they want financial freedom, they must be willing to invest in assets or start a business, taking calculated risks. Key reflection. Growth begins where your comfort zone ends. Practical exercise to break patterns. Kiyosaki suggests a simple yet powerful exercise. Make a list of your 5 largest monthly expenses. Ask yourself, how many of these expenses are passive and how many are active? Identify at least one passive expense that you can reduce or eliminate, and redirect that money into an investment or savings. Breaking patterns doesn't mean perfection. Kiyosaki emphasizes that the process of changing habits is not linear. There will be setbacks, but what matters is staying focused and continuing to move forward. Practical example: investment mistakes. A novice investor might make mistakes early on, like buying a stock based on emotions rather than analysis. However, this mistake teaches them to be more strategic and rational in the future. Conclusion of the chapter. Breaking limiting patterns is one of the most important steps toward financial freedom. It requires courage, self-awareness, and the willingness to change, but the result is a life with more opportunities and control over your future. As Kiyosaki says, you can't change your financial destiny until you change your financial habits. Chapter 15. The Power of Financial Focus. Your focus determines your financial reality. Learning to focus on what matters is the key to achieving financial freedom. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of focus as an essential skill for building wealth. Many people scatter their energy and resources in too many directions, leaving them unable to concentrate on what will actually lead to financial success. Multiple directions which take them away from their goals. However, those who manage to focus on clear financial goals and prioritize the most important actions are the ones who truly thrive. The problem of distraction. Kiyosaki explains that one of the biggest mistakes people make on their path to financial freedom is trying to do too many things at once. This not only dilutes their efforts but also causes frustration and emotional burnout. Practical example: too many investments at the same time. Imagine someone trying to invest in real estate, start an online business, and buy stocks simultaneously. With no experience or enough time to dedicate to each project, they end up losing money in all areas. Key reflection. Success doesn't depend on doing more, but on doing the right things consistently. How to find your financial focus. Define your main goal. Ask yourself, what is most important to you financially? It could be generating passive income, paying off debt, or building a scalable business. Eliminate distractions. Identify activities that consume your time and energy but don't contribute to your goal. This might include unnecessary expenses or projects that are not aligned with your objectives. Set priorities. Rank your tasks and actions based on their impact on your financial freedom. Dedicate most of your time to the highest impact activities. Extended practical example: choosing a strategy. An employee interested in real estate decides to focus exclusively on learning about rental properties. Instead of spreading himself too thin across multiple areas, he takes a specialized course, analyzes the local market, and buys his first property within a year. The power of focus in quadrants D and I. In quadrants D, business owners, and I, investors, focus is especially crucial because in quadrant D, entrepreneurs need to build efficient and sustainable systems, which requires full attention on processes and the team. In quadrant I, investors must carefully analyze opportunities and avoid emotional or impulsive decisions. Practical example: business focus. An entrepreneur running a coffee shop decides to prioritize the customer experience. Instead of expanding too quickly, they focus on optimizing service and increasing customer loyalty. This strategic focus allows them to scale more solidly. How focus accelerates financial success. Kiyosaki introduces the concept of focus leverage, which involves using time and resources efficiently to achieve faster and more significant results. Practical steps to leverage focus. Automate repetitive tasks. Use technology or delegate tasks to free up time that you can dedicate to strategic activities. Learn to say no. Reject opportunities that are not aligned with your main goals. Set short and long-term goals. Break your big goal into manageable milestones and focus on one at a time. Extended practical example: building an investment portfolio. A novice investor decides to start with index funds to build a solid foundation. Once they master this market, they expand their portfolio into real estate. This step-by-step approach allows them to learn and grow in a structured manner. Common mistakes when losing focus. Kiyosaki identifies 3 mistakes people often make. Focusing on immediate results. Losing sight of long-term benefits by chasing quick rewards. Impulsive purchases or risky investments. Comparing yourself to others. Trying to replicate the financial success of others without considering your own resources, skills, and circumstances. Not adjusting course. Staying focused on a strategy that isn't working due to fear of changing or adapting. Practical example: the danger of impulsive investments. An investor decides to buy cryptocurrencies based solely on social media trends, without conducting proper analysis. After losing money, they realize they need to refocus on strategies they understand and control better. How to develop a focused mindset. Practice mindfulness. Dedicate time to reflect on your goals and how you're progressing toward them. Use visualizations. Imagine what your financial life will look like once you achieve your goals. This can help maintain motivation. Constantly evaluate your results. Periodically review your progress and adjust your actions as needed. Practical example: quarterly evaluation. An entrepreneur sets quarterly goals for their business. Every 3 months, they evaluate their income, costs, and progress toward their objectives, which allows them to correct mistakes and optimize their focus. Conclusion of the chapter. Financial focus is the compass that guides your decisions toward economic freedom. By eliminating distractions, prioritizing your goals, and maintaining consistency, you can accelerate your progress and avoid costly mistakes. As Kiyosaki says, your success is not determined by the number of things you do, but by the quality of the decisions you make. Chapter 16. The Power of Financial Systems. A solid system not only generates wealth, it frees your time and reduces the effort needed to maintain it. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki introduces the importance of building efficient financial systems that work for you. Systems are essential to move from Quadrant A, self-employed, where you work intensely to maintain your income, to Quadrant D, business owner, where you can generate wealth in a sustainable and scalable manner. What is a financial system? A financial system is a structure that allows you to generate consistent income without relying solely on your time and effort. It can be an automated business, an investment portfolio, or even a franchise model. These systems are designed to operate independently of your daily involvement, allowing you to focus on building more assets or enjoying your free time. Practical example: an automated online store. Suppose you create an online store using platforms like Shopify or Amazon. Once set up, the system takes care of processing orders, managing inventories, and shipping products. While initial effort is required to set it up, once operational, it generates passive income with minimal oversight. The benefits of a system. Scalability. Systems allow you to expand your operations without increasing your workload proportionally. For example, a franchise can replicate a successful business model in multiple locations. Passive income. By building a system, you can generate income even when you're not actively working. Risk reduction. Well-designed systems include processes that minimize errors and increase efficiency. The pillars of a successful system. Kiyosaki identifies 3 key elements to building solid financial systems. Strategy. Define a clear plan for how your system will operate, from generating income to managing costs. Automation. Implement technological tools and processes that reduce the need for manual intervention. Surround yourself with competent people who can efficiently operate the system, allowing you to delegate key tasks. Extended practical example: creating a real estate system. An investor buys several rental properties and hires a property manager to oversee them. This system includes strategy: buying properties with positive cash flow. Automation: using software to track rental payments and expenses. Team: a property manager who handles repairs and tenant relations. The result is a system that generates income without requiring active involvement from the owner. Common mistakes when building a system. Kiyosaki warns about the most common mistakes people make when trying to create systems. Lack of planning. Starting a business or investment without a clear plan leads to chaos and financial losses. Underestimating the importance of the team. Trying to do everything yourself limits the ability to scale the system. Not investing in technology. Ignoring tools that can automate processes means working harder than necessary. Practical example: a non-scalable business. A graphic designer works as a freelancer, managing all aspects of their business, from marketing to deliveries. By not building a team or automating tasks, they remain stuck in Quadrant A, working long hours with no possibility of scaling. How to start building a financial system. Identify an opportunity. Look for a market or sector where you can offer a unique solution or fulfill an existing need. Create a replicable model. Design processes that can be easily duplicated, like in a franchise model. Run small tests. Before investing large amounts of time and money, test your system on a smaller scale to identify flaws and optimize it. Scale gradually. Once the system is functioning, expand it in a controlled manner, ensuring that it maintains efficiency. Practical example: a subscription business. Someone creates a subscription box business for eco-friendly products. They start with 50 customers and use their feedback to improve the service. Once perfected, they use digital marketing to scale the business to 500 customers within a year. The mindset behind systems. Moving from Quadrant A to Quadrant D requires a shift in mindset. From thinking like an employee to thinking like a strategist. From seeking immediate income to building sustainable structures in the long term. From relying on personal skills to relying on systems and teams. Key reflection. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter and more strategically. Conclusion of the chapter. Building financial systems is essential to achieving economic freedom and moving to Quadrant D. These systems not only generate income but also free up your time to focus on new opportunities or enjoy life. As Kiyosaki says, the secret is not how much you work, but how efficiently you can make work work for you. Chapter 17. The Power of Financial Leverage. It's not about how much money you have, but how you multiply it using leverage. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki introduces the concept of financial leverage as an essential tool for building wealth. Through leverage, you can maximize your current resources to generate much higher returns than you would get by working solely with your own means. What is financial leverage? Financial leverage involves using external resources, such as borrowed money, time, or the skills of others, to multiply your results. According to Kiyosaki, this is one of the main characteristics of people in Quadrants D, business owners, and I, investors. Practical example: leverage in real estate. An investor buys a property for $200,000 using an 80% bank loan. They invest only $40,000 of their own money, but the rental income covers the mortgage and generates a positive cash flow each month. Thanks to leverage, the investor controls a high-value asset with a limited initial investment. Types of leverage. Kiyosaki describes several types of leverage you can use to build wealth. Other people's money, OPM. Using loans or external investments to fund your projects. Other people's time, OPT. Hiring or delegating tasks to employees or collaborators to scale your business. Other people's skills, OPS. Partnering with experts or professionals who complement your skills. Systems. Implementing processes and technologies that optimize your operations and increase productivity. Practical example: leverage in a business. An entrepreneur hires a team of programmers to develop a mobile app. Although they don't know how to code, they use the knowledge of their team, OPS, and their time, OPT, to launch the product. Once it's on the market, they automate sales with an online system, generating passive income. The risk of leverage. While leverage can be a powerful tool, it also carries risks. Kiyosaki warns that improper use of leverage, such as taking on irresponsible debt, can lead to significant losses. How to minimize risks. Financial education. Learn how loans, interest rates, and investment returns work before using leverage. Realistic calculations. Ensure that your projected income is enough to cover your costs and generate profits. Diversification. Don't put all your resources into a single project or investment. Practical example: misuse of leverage. An investor buys multiple properties using loans but underestimates maintenance costs and vacancy periods. With insufficient income to cover the mortgages, they face financial difficulties. Leverage and the right side quadrants. In Quadrants D and I, leverage is essential for scaling businesses and building wealth. Unlike Quadrants E and A, where income depends on personal effort, Leverage allows business owners and investors to multiply their results without directly working in each activity. Extended practical example, stock market investments. An investor uses financial leverage to buy options in the stock market. While they risk less initial capital, the potential profits are significantly higher if the trade succeeds. However, this type of leverage comes with substantial risks. Leverage also requires a deep understanding of the market to minimize risks. The power of leverage in daily life. Kiyosaki points out that leverage applies not only to finances but also to time management and personal productivity. For example, leveraging knowledge, learning from experts rather than trying to figure everything out on your own. Leveraging time, using tools like calendars and management apps to optimize your day. Practical example, maximizing time. An entrepreneur uses automated scheduling tools to post content on social media while focusing on closing deals with clients. This allows them to maintain their online presence without dedicating daily time to that task. The mindset shift needed. To leverage effectively, you need to shift your mindset. From working hard to working smart, not every physical effort generates proportional results. From saving to investing. Money saved loses value over time, while money invested can grow exponentially. From doing everything alone to building teams and systems, learn to delegate and trust others or tools. How to start using leverage. Identify areas of opportunity. Find where you can use external resources to increase your results. Start small. Test leverage in small projects before committing to larger investments. Consult experts. Before using financial leverage, seek professional advice to understand the risks and benefits. Evaluate regularly. Ensure your leverage strategy is working and adjust as needed. Chapter conclusion. Financial leverage is a powerful tool for building wealth, but it requires knowledge, planning, and discipline to use it correctly. As Kiyosaki says, you don't need to work harder, you need to find ways to make hard work work for you. Chapter 18. The Investor's Mindset. Becoming a successful investor is not just about money, but about mindset. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki focuses on what he defines as the investor's mindset, a way of thinking that differentiates those who build wealth in Quadrant I, investor, from those who simply save or speculate. According to Kiyosaki, the right mindset is the foundation for making strategic decisions that generate passive income and build long-term financial freedom. The playing it safe mistake. Kiyosaki notes that many people avoid investing because they see the market as a risky place. This playing it safe approach often keeps them trapped in Quadrant E or A, relying on their active work to make money. Practical example, the risk of not investing. An employee decides to keep all their money in a savings account, thinking it's safer. However, over time, inflation reduces the purchasing power of their savings, leaving them in a worse financial position than if they had invested in assets like real estate or index funds. Key reflection. Not investing is also a risk. The key is learning to manage risks so that they work in your favor. The difference between speculation and investment. A common mistake, according to Kiyosaki, is confusing speculation with investment. Speculation is betting on unpredictable results without deep analysis, while investment involves informed decisions based on research, strategy, and clear goals. Extended practical example, investing in stocks. Speculation, buying trendy stocks based solely on rumors or viral trends. Investment, analyzing a company's fundamentals, studying its market, and calculating the expected return before buying stocks. Key lesson. Investment is a strategic process, not a gamble. Characteristics of the investor's mindset. Patience. Successful investors understand that wealth is built over the long term. They are willing to wait for results rather than seeking quick profits. Continuous education. They are always learning about markets, strategies, and new investment opportunities. Emotional control. They do not make impulsive decisions based on fear or greed. They remain calm during market fluctuations. Strategic diversification. They do not put all their eggs in one basket, but instead spread their investments to minimize risk. Practical example, a diversified portfolio. An investor spreads their money across real estate, stocks, bonds, and their own business. If one investment doesn't perform as expected, the others may offset that loss, ensuring overall stability. How to develop the investor's mindset. Start with financial education. Read books, attend seminars, and find mentors who can guide you on your investment journey. Set clear goals. Define specific goals, such as generate $5,000 in monthly passive income in 10 years. This will give you direction and purpose. Take small steps. You don't need large amounts of money to start. Make small initial investments to gain experience and confidence. Analyze your mistakes. Every loss or mistake is an opportunity to learn and improve. Practical example: investing in real estate. A novice investor begins by purchasing a small rental property. Though they make mistakes in the initial management, they learn to better calculate costs and select reliable tenants for their next property. The power of passive income. Kiyosaki emphasizes that the investor's mindset focuses on building assets that generate passive income. These incomes, which flow in without requiring constant active work, are the key to achieving financial freedom. Practical example: dividend funds. An investor buys stocks in companies that pay quarterly dividends. As they reinvest those dividends, their income stream increases over time, creating a stable source of passive income. The investor's virtuous circle. The investor's mindset creates a virtuous circle. You gain experience. Every successful or failed investment teaches you something valuable. You improve your skills. Over time, you develop the ability to identify better opportunities. You increase your passive income. This gives you more resources to reinvest and scale your results. Key reflection. The more you invest in your education and your assets, the more you grow as an investor. Chapter conclusion. The investor's mindset is not built overnight, but it is essential for achieving financial freedom. By developing patience, continuously educating yourself, and learning from your mistakes, you can become a strategic investor capable of building wealth. Generating sustainable passive income. As Kiyosaki says, success in investing is not about luck, it's about preparation. Chapter 19. Cash flow is king. True wealth is not about how much money you make, but how much money flows to you and stays with you. In this chapter, Robert Kiyosaki emphasizes the importance of understanding cash flow as the most crucial metric for measuring your financial success. While many people focus solely on their income or net worth, Kiyosaki argues that it is cash flow that defines your ability to achieve and maintain financial freedom. What is cash flow? Cash flow is the money that comes in and goes out of your pocket each month. In simple terms, positive cash flow, when your income exceeds your expenses. Negative cash flow, when your expenses exceed your income. According to Kiyosaki, the goal is to build assets that generate positive cash flow, allowing you to live off those earnings without relying on a job. Practical example: the difference between income and cash flow. A doctor earning $200,000 a year but with $190,000 in fixed monthly expenses has limited cash flow. In contrast, an investor generating $5,000 per month in passive income with only $2,000 in expenses has a much healthier and more sustainable positive cash flow. Cash flow versus net worth. Kiyosaki explains that many people make the mistake of focusing only on their net worth, which includes the value of all their assets minus their liabilities. However, a high net worth doesn't guarantee financial stability if you don't have a steady cash flow. Extended practical example: the deceptive net worth. A homeowner with a house valued at $500,000 might seem wealthy on paper, but if they don't have enough income to cover the mortgage payments, taxes, and maintenance costs, that wealth is illusory. Key lesson: cash flow is what truly pays your bills and maintains your lifestyle. How to build positive cash flow. Invest in income-generating assets. Look for assets that regularly produce money, such as rental properties, automated businesses, or dividend-paying stocks. Reduce your liabilities. Minimize unnecessary expenses and avoid debt that doesn't generate income, such as loans for luxuries or high-interest credit cards. Diversify your income sources. Don't rely on a single source of income. Combine different assets and strategies to ensure a stable cash flow. Practical example, rental properties. An investor buys a rental property that generates $2,000 in monthly rent. After covering mortgage, taxes, and maintenance costs, they have $500 left as positive cash flow. Cash flow in the quadrants. Cash flow is the foundation for moving from the E, employee, or A, self-employed, quadrants to the D, business owner, or I, investor, quadrants. In the E and A quadrants, you rely on active income that stops when you stop working. In contrast, in the D and I quadrants, cash flow comes from assets that generate passive income. Practical example, the quadrant shift. A self-employed consultant decides to invest their earnings in a franchise business. This business, operated by a team, generates positive monthly cash flow, allowing them to reduce their active work and focus on new opportunities. Common mistakes in managing cash flow. Kiyosaki warns about the most frequent mistakes that prevent people from building solid cash flow. Underestimating costs. Many people don't consider hidden expenses, such as taxes, maintenance, or commissions, when calculating their income. Investing without understanding. Buying assets without knowing how they work can lead to negative cash flow. Reinvesting everything without reserves. While reinvesting is important, you should always keep an emergency fund to cover unforeseen expenses. Practical example, a poorly calculated property. An investor buys an apartment building without properly calculating maintenance and vacancy costs. As a result, expenses exceed income, generating negative cash flow. Tools for managing cash flow. Personal finance software. Use tools like QuickBooks or Mint to track your income and expenses. Cash flow spreadsheets. Create a simple document to record all monthly income and expenses to identify areas for improvement. Financial advisors. Consult experts to optimize your strategies and maximize your cash flow. Practical example, using a cash flow spreadsheet. An investor logs their rental income and associated expenses in a spreadsheet. By analyzing the data, they find that they can reduce costs by hiring a more efficient property manager. The compound effect of cash flow. Kiyosaki emphasizes that by consistently reinvesting positive cash flow into new assets, you can accelerate your progress toward financial freedom. This process creates a compound effect that multiplies your income over time. Extended practical example, reinvest your earnings. An investor uses the cash flow generated by their properties to buy new properties. Over time, they build a diversified portfolio that provides substantial passive income. Conclusion of the chapter. Cash flow is the foundation of financial freedom. By prioritizing income-generating assets, minimizing liabilities, and reinvesting strategically, you can build a life of stability and abundance. As Kiyosaki says, cash flow is not just money, it's the life you want to live. Chapter 20, Your Roadmap to Financial Freedom. Financial success is not a destination, it's a strategic and conscious journey. In this final chapter, Robert Kiyosaki presents a complete and practical vision to map out your path to financial freedom. It's about building a personalized roadmap that allows you to leverage what you've learned and apply key strategies from the cash flow quadrant to your daily life. According to Kiyosaki, this roadmap is not just a list of steps, but a mindset and ongoing commitment. Step 1. Define your why. The first step in creating your roadmap is identifying your main motivation. Why do you want to achieve financial freedom? Having clarity about your whys will give you the strength to stay focused and overcome challenges. Practical example, your personal motivation. Imagine your motivation is to provide a better life for your family. This purpose drives you to learn about investments, build assets, and make strategic financial decisions. Key reflection. When you have a clear purpose, it will be easier to maintain the discipline needed to reach your goals. Step 2. Assess your current situation. Before moving forward, you need to understand where you stand financially. This includes analyzing your income, expenses, and debts, identifying your current assets and liabilities, recognizing financial patterns you need to change. Practical example, financial diagnosis. An employee discovers that they are spending 20% of their salary on entertainment. By adjusting this expense, they can redirect those funds toward an initial savings to invest in real estate. Key lesson: you can't plan your financial future without knowing where you stand. Step 3. Set clear goals. Define specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. SMART. Break these goals down into short-term, save $5,000 in 1 year for an initial investment. Medium-term, generate $1,000 in passive income per month in 3 years. Long-term, achieve financial freedom in 10 years. Practical example: creating scaled goals. A young professional decides to start by investing in dividend stocks to generate small passive income. As they learn and gain experience, they expand their investments to real estate. Step 4. Choose your destination quadrant. Determine if your goal is to operate in Quadrant D, business owner, Quadrant I, investor, or both. This will guide your actions and decisions. Practical example: being both an owner and an investor. An entrepreneur launches an online business that generates active income. Over time, they use the profits to invest in stocks and properties, creating a stream of passive cash flow. Step 5. Build your financial system. Develop systems that work for you, allowing you to generate passive income and scale your results. This includes automating financial processes, delegating tasks to competent teams, creating efficient legal and tax structures. Practical example: automated business. An online store owner sets up tools to process payments, send automatic emails, and manage inventory, reducing their active involvement in day-to-day operations. Step 6. Continuously educate your mind. Learning never stops. Dedicate time to reading books and studying market trends, attending seminars and conferences, building a network of like-minded individuals. Practical example: investor community. A young person joins a local real estate investors group where they share knowledge, learn advanced strategies, and find partners for new projects. Step 7. Reinvest and expand. Use the income generated by your assets to reinvest in new opportunities. This process creates a compound effect that accelerates your progress toward financial freedom. Extended practical example: reinvest your profits. An investor who generates $1,000 in passive income per month from rental properties uses that money to buy another property. With each new acquisition, their cash flow increases. Step 8. Control your financial emotions. Emotional intelligence is crucial for staying calm during financial ups and downs. Manage fear and greed. Make decisions based on data, not emotions. Maintain discipline during periods of uncertainty. Practical example: calm in the stock market. During a market downturn, an educated investor takes advantage of low prices to buy valuable assets rather than selling out of panic. Final reflection: commit to the journey. Kiyosaki concludes the chapter by reminding us that financial freedom is not a single destination, but an ongoing process of learning, action, and adaptation. Commitment to this path is what separates those who achieve their goals from those who give up in the face of challenges. Key reflection: every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you desire. The key is to stay focused, be patient, and be willing to grow. Conclusion of the book. The Cashflow Quadrant is not only a tool for understanding different ways to generate income, but also a roadmap to financial freedom. By applying the lessons in this book to your daily life, you can transform your relationship with money, build income-generating assets, and achieve a life of stability and abundance. Closing and invitation. Thank you for joining me in this summary of the book The Cashflow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. If you found this content helpful, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends and loved ones. Let's help more people change their financial mindset and achieve their economic freedom.